Hey, what's up everyone? Welcome back to the channel. In today's tutorial, I'll be showing you how to write your first C++ script on the Raspberry Pi Pico W. Now this is a really exciting video for this channel because up until this point we've just been developing with MicroPython on the device. So I thought we'd do something a little different and switch to C++ because there are a lot of algorithmic benefits to using C++, especially for more advanced use cases, and there's a huge community out there who uses C++ and prefers to use C++ over MicroPython, and I think it's really important to attend to that community and develop videos around C++ in this channel as well. So I'll be walking you through step by step from the beginning to the end to download the SDK, write your first script, and flash it onto the device. We will be using a Mac today, so if you're using a Windows or a Linux, the commands will be a little different. However, the steps are generally the same, so try your best to follow along. If something's not the same, just do a quick Google. You should be able to find system equivalent commands to the commands I'll be running today, and by the end of it, we will just have a hello world script that we can view in the serial output that will print hello world to the serial output of the Raspberry Pi Pico W in C++. So enough being said, guys, I do not want to waste any of your time. Let's jump into it. But before we get into the content for today's video, I just want to remind you guys to subscribe to the channel if you haven't, because I'm sure there's someone watching right now who is not subscribed to this YouTube channel. So if you could do me a favor, hit that subscribe button. It would mean a lot to me. And best of all, it is free, and I'm sure there's many things you can benefit from this channel into the future. So enough being said, guys, let's hop back into the main content. Okay, so first things first, we just want to open a terminal or a CMD on your operating system. And once again, if you're not using a Mac OS, do your best to follow along with your system level commands that resemble these. So we are in our terminal on our Mac, and the first thing we want to do is we just want to install Homebrew. So Homebrew is a really popular package manager tool, so if you have been developing on the Mac for a long time, chances are you already have Homebrew. It just really allows us to install packages we need really seamlessly with one-line commands. So this is the command we need to install Homebrew. So I'm just gonna go ahead and click enter here. It's going to ask you for your password, and then it's going to say click enter. So if you've never used Homebrew before, just click enter and let it install Homebrew. I'm not going to click enter, so let me just exit this because I already have Homebrew. So now that we have Homebrew, we're actually going to use Homebrew to install CMake and the GCC ARM packages to allow us to compile C++ projects and develop with C++. So if you have been developing with C++ on your Mac, high chance is you already have these tools. So we're just going to go ahead and click enter here. I already have them installed, so it should be quick to install with Homebrew. But sometimes Homebrew commands do take a long time to install packages because they are big, so do not be alarmed if it's taking a long time. So we do have that installed, so that is great. And after that, we just want to install the Pico W SDK for C++. So I'm just going up here. You can see I already ran these commands in the past. And so we just want to, first of all, create a directory with this make dir command. Then we want to go into that directory, and then we want to clone the SDK for the Pico W for C++. So this allows us to have all the tools and libraries we need to develop in C++ for the Raspberry Pi Pico W. So this is the official Pico W SDK or Pico SDK. And so we're just going to go into that clone repository that we use git clone. So make sure you do have git to actually run this command. Some of you beginners may not be familiar with git. It is a really popular version and code management tool, probably the most popular one. So make sure you install git. It is a prerequisite for this video. And we just want to cd into that clone repository and initialize the sub modules in that repository. So this is the full command. So I'm just going to go ahead and click enter. I already have it, so it's going to say already exists. So go ahead and run those series of commands to make sure you have the SDK and initialize the sub modules. Now finally, the last step in setting up our environments is we just want to set up an environment variable that makes it easier to develop with the Pico W SDK. And we're just going to run this command. So we're going to set an environment variable in our zshrc file. So this is the command we're running. And then we're going to source it. So that's pretty much telling the system that we want to look into this file for environment variable. So I'm going to click enter here, and you should be able to check if you added that line to this file by clicking VI. So VI is just a text editor on this operating system, and we're just going to go to that file, and we could see that it's there twice because I already ran this command before the video. So I'm just going to delete one line. But if you did everything correctly, you should see this line in your zshrc file. And that being said, you have all the tools now that we can use to start writing code in C++ and flashing it over to the device. Okay, so now that we have our tools, we just wanted to go ahead and start developing our first project. Now I'm already in my project directory here. You don't have to create directories through the terminal, but I'm going to show you everything through the terminal in today's video. You can create directories and files in this terminal, which is nice. So if you're a beginner, it's actually important you learn these things. So we could just create our project directory. We can use this make dir command. So I'm just going up to my past commands because I already ran this before once again. And we could just run this make dir command and specify the path to our project. And I just called it my project, nothing fancy. And so once we have that command, I already ran this command, it should create the folder for you. And if you do have the preference to create files and stuff through the UI, you can do that, but there are commands we have to run through the terminal. So it's best you follow along through the terminal and learn as well if you've never used these commands. So once we have that, we can just go into this project. I'm already in there, so I'll just click it again. So we are in this project. And then in this project, I have two files. I already created these before I started filming. So you want to create these files as well. The first is a cmakelist.txt file. If you want to create files through the terminal, you could just do touch, which is the command to create a file, and type in the name of the file. So list.txt. Now I already made this, so I'm not going to type in the touch command. And then once we create the file, it should be empty at the beginning. We want to go into the file with the vi command. And I already have stuff in this file. You can just copy the contents I have here. Really simple make file. So this pretty much contains the build instructions for CMake. So we're just specifying the CMake version, the path to the Pico SDK. You can see that that environment variable we set makes it easier to develop a little bit by setting that path. And then we have the project name, which is my project. So if you decided to change the project name, make sure you change it there. We initialize the Pico SDK. We add our executable today. So we just have one main.cpp file, which is C++ file. In that file, we'll show you what it is. It's a really simple file that just prints hello world every second. And then we enable some USB communication with the device with these two commands. And we set up some other linking of libraries as well. So that's pretty much all we're doing in this CMake file. These files will form the basis of your C++ builds. And really this is as simple as it gets for the Pico W C++ project. So once you have everything in these files, you could just type in :WQ if you're using the terminal to save it and quit. And so we'll just type that in. So we have our instructions for CMake. Next, we just want to create the actual code, which is main.cpp. And we could just do touch main.cpp. And I already did that command. So you just create the cpp file. And then we just go into that file. I'll show you how simple of a file it is. We just include some libraries, Pico and cstdio. So we need these to run this script. So that's how you import in C++. And then we just want to initialize this to communicate with the device. And we want to print hello world every second. So that's all we're doing with a new line. And if we did everything properly, at the end of this video, you should see it in the serial monitor. So of course, going forward in this tutorial series, we'll start developing more intricate scripts to do more involved things. But this is just an intro. So we could just do WQ once you copy in all the content. And finally, next, we want to make a build directory because we want to specify a build directory. It's just good practice to build into a build directory in C++. So we can just make a dir called build. And then we just want to run the cmake command ... So ... says that the cmake file is in the upper directory. So it is in the upper directory. So ... just points to the parent directory. And we're just going to go ahead and click enter. So what is it saying? CMake. The source does not appear to contain CMake. So I wonder why. Oh, we have to cd into the build. Sorry about that, guys. So we have to go into the build first. So that was the mistake. We made the build, but we didn't go into the build directory. So now we should be able to run the cmake command. And that should compile the files. And finally, we're going to run the make command. So this make command will produce the file UF2 that will be ported on to our Pico W. So this does produce the final executable based on all of the files we just generated with the cmake command. So go ahead and click make here. And once we have this, we should have that UF2 file, and this will be readable by the Pico W, and we'll flash it over USB. Okay, so once our make command has run successfully, we just want to confirm that by typing ls and finding the UF2 file here. So this is the file generated, and we want to port this over into the Pico W. So we want to take our device now, and before we actually plug it in, we want to hold this button on the device, the boot cell button. And as we're holding it, we plug it in at the same time. And this will mount the volume to be able to flash this UF2 file over. And once we have that, we can just go ahead and copy the file over. So CP, just copy the UF2 file to that volume. And we can just go ahead and click enter here. And we can confirm that is mounted that is flashed over, because the mount will no longer be available once it is flashed over. So type in ls and you can see that it's no longer available. And the last step, once we have that, is this should be running the project and printing to the serial output. And we just want to monitor that and make sure it's running it successfully. So the last step we want to do is, first of all, we want to type in this export term equals VT100. This is just for compatibility issues for actually viewing the serial monitor. So make sure you just type this in, click enter. And then once we have that, we want to find where the output is. So we can just go to this command that I had run earlier and type ls/dev/tty.usb modem star. And star is a wildcard. It'll just look for devices with this path. Now, if you're using a Mac, this should be the command you want to run. If you're using a Windows, I believe you're looking for COM ports. So this is where it is on my computer. So we're almost done here. Now we just want to type in screen to view the serial monitor. And then we want to type in the path to that. Okay, so let's type in enter here. And it looks like it is printing hello world successfully. So if you've gone up to this point, give yourself a pat on the back, because you've successfully written your first C++ project on the Pico W. So there you have it, everyone. That sums it up for today's video. I hope you got the gist of developing your first C++ project on the Pico W. We'll certainly do more follow-up videos for developing with C++ on this channel. So if you want to see more of that, please hit that subscribe button, because I will certainly do more intense and more elaborate projects with C++, so you can get more practical applications out of this device with C++ development. If you have any questions about today's tutorial, let me know in the comment section down below. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next tutorial. Thank you all for watching.